Hi, everyone. Welcome to Conversations with Nicole. Chances are many of you spent your mornings drinking your coffee and watching Mark McEwen at the network on CBS. He was on the morning program, CBS This Morning, and then on the early show. He is one of America's most trusted newsmen. He's interviewed presidents, actors, musicians, and countless others during his illustrious career. After leaving the network, Mark moved to Orlando to do local news there, and of course, that allowed him to spend more time with his family. Mark later suffered a stroke, and this was a game changer for him. From that, he decided to author the book After the Stroke to share with others about how, of course, this changed his life and, of course, to help others lower their risk of stroke. I'm delighted to share Mark's story with you today. Let's get started. Welcome to Conversations with Nicole. I am delighted to have as my guest today Mark McEwen, the famous Mark McEwen, formerly of the CBS network, a newsman extraordinaire, now the author of a book about having a stroke and surviving and inspiring us, and just in his next chapter of his life, like me. Welcome to the show, Mark.
Thank you. Hello, Nicole.
Oh, this is such a treat. I was saying off air how much I admire you. I enjoyed watching you all those years on CBS. And so to have an opportunity to talk with you today and share your story is truly an honor. So thank you so much.
You're quite welcome. Quite welcome.
So, folks I know remember you from CBS, the early morning show. We woke up to you, we drank our coffee, we listened to the news. You did weather sometimes, you were an entertainment reporter. You had this amazing career of interviewing presidents and actors and musicians. So, tell folks a little bit about your life and what it was like there. You were like there 15 years, I believe.
Okay, Nicole, I used to be a rock and roll DJ on the radio, playing what kids today call classic rock. Back then, it was just rock and roll. Zeppelin, AC/DC, Journey, the Beatles, the Stones, Baltimore, Detroit, Chicago, New York. That brought me to New York. When I was on the radio in Detroit and left to go to Chicago, the guy who took my place, a young DJ from Hartford, Connecticut, whose name is Howard Stern. I've known Howard
That
forever.
is so cool.
So off I go to New York to play rock and roll. I get fired not once, but twice in New York. And radio is known for firing people. I was lucky. I never got fired before, got fired twice in New York. The second time, it was in the paper, the New York Daily News. And Bob Shanks, who was going to be the executive producer of a new morning show for CBS, what the morning program, sat in his robe reading the paper and said to his wife, "I think I found my weatherman." So a producer called, the station called me up. They said a producer from CBS called to talk to you. So here's his number. I thought CBS, I thought it was CBS FM, an oldie station. I didn't want to play oldies, but I didn't have JOB. And plus, he's talking, I'm a producer over here. Radio mornings, you're lucky if you have a producer. To have here producers plural was a big deal. So then he says, and since we're going up against GMA and the Today Show, I go, wait a minute, is this TV? He says, yeah. Are you interested? I go, yeah. So I go down to Black Rock. Keep in mind, my first job in television was national television. Never even thought of it.
That's unbelievable. Most
Yep,
people don't do that.
yep. I didn't know how lucky I was. So
Wow.
I go down, Nicole, the phone is blowing up in the office, and the guy's Bob Shanks is paying no attention to the phone. He says to me things like, Are you a Yankees fan? Are you a Mets fan? You have brothers and sisters. I'm thinking, this is junk. Found out he was sizing me up. And then he says, how do you feel about doing the weather? Nicole, to be honest, I thought I could give a hoot about doing the weather. But at that level, you don't say no. You don't. I
Do
said,
not say no.
I say, I could do it. Sure, you could do it. We'll get your meteorologist. And I used to do stand up comedy. So he says, we'll have one audition. Is there something that can lead you into your stand up comedy? Okay. So, Nicole, we go to a studio. It's packed. There's a TV camera. He's standing right next to it. And he says, I'm going to ask you a number of questions. Answer, you can talk to me, but talk to the camera. And then he says, where'd you go on vacation recently? And I said, Jamaica. Everyone in Jamaica has an accent. Where are you from, Mom? Where are you going, Mom? I said, even the dogs. Bark, bark, Mom. And they all laughed. Nicole, that got me the job. And in radio, you are interviewing people all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, listeners, people. Tom Hanks had the movie Big. He came through. Stephen King. He had all kinds of people. But weathermen only did the weather. I was the first one. I said, "Hey, can I do music?" And they were like, "Okay." And so I began Nicole, that turned into the Oscars and the Country Music Awards and the Grammys and the Golden Globes. All that came from, hey, over here, can I do this, please? So there you go.
Wow. Wow. What a career that you had there. I mean, to go from a DJ to the network, that's incredible. That just goes to show the talent that you have
Thank
and
you.
the appeal that you have to your audience. When I watched you and talking to you now, you're relatable. You're easy to listen to. I feel like you're just having a conversation. We're hanging out in your, in your den or whatever. And I feel like that's what the audience felt too, and that producer, he saw that day too as well. I love that, I love that. So talk about, any memorable moments at that level at the network before you made the next change.
Well, Nicole, I always say, too stupid to know how special that whole thing was. I was just glad to be here, glad to be here, and didn't know. See, Nicole, if you say something funny in a room full of comedians, they chuckle. If you say something funny in a room full of news guys, they fall right on the floor. So you're doing stuff they're not used to. So I'm doing that. Nicole, my interviews, I uh, I would always tell the people, pay no attention to the cameras and the lights. Talk to me.
Yeah.
When it goes well, it's not a Winston Churchill press conference, it's a conversation. And so, but I tell people all the time, you have to do your homework, you have to do your research, because the answer to their first question can negate every other question. Yeah, hold on. Did you say, and now you're going down a road that you didn't know you'd be going down, but you have to be prepared to go down that road. Big fun, Nicole.
Yeah. Listening is always the key when you're talking to
Yeah.
someone,
Pay
having
attention to what they're saying. Yeah.
listening. So what I'm hearing is that you had a wonderful ride, wonderful opportunities, and when it came to an end and you left the network, what happened next?
Uh, well, as I like to say, it rumbled to a halt. That was working with Brian Gumble, Jane Clayson. I worked with Harry, my boy, Harry
Harry
Smith,
Smith, love Harry. What about Paula Zahn?
all of Don too.
Loved Paula.
Kathleen Sullivan worked with all of them. And so I thought, what do I do next? Nicole, WCBS TV. I go in there, and the GM and the news director are there. And she says, you're not a weatherman, right? I said, no, no. She said, you're not a meteorologist. I said, no. What makes me think people will believe what you say? I said, yeah, for 16 years, they believed everything. I said,
So that's what that will be, yeah.
if you want, I'll go get a meteorologist degree to be at WCBS. Didn't happen. Okay. By the way, they fired her. Yippee yippee ki off, off at one, Chicago called me. I'm an East Coast boy. I've been on the radio in Chicago. So I go there. He's talking about not weather, about doing anchoring the morning, grooming me to be the news evening anchor. I turned him down because I'd been to the Midwest. I didn't want to go back. So I went to Raleigh, North Carolina, and finally, was with William Morris at the time. My agent said, Orlando. I said, Orlando? He said, they're good people. Go see them. Oh, it's just a plane ride. So, Nicole, I come down here, and he's right. I met the GM and the news director, two of my dearest friends. They were nice as they could be, and not once did they mention weather. They wanted me to anchor the morning and the noon, to groom me to be the evening anchor. And a year in, we started out. We were in last test place,
Oh,
in the and by the end of the year, we were in second and beating number one every a lot. And we were coming, and then I had my stroke. Changed my whole.
yeah. Then you have okay, so there we are. You're here and you found a place where you thought this is going to be good. I'm going to get time with my family, and you had a stroke. How old were you when you had the stroke? Were there signs, symptoms leading up to it? And walk me through that process. This is valuable information for folks.
Well, Nicole, I was 51. I
Mm.
had high blood pressure, but everyone I knew in news had high blood pressure. So I thought that was just part of the gig. Okay. So I go to Maryland. I'm from Maryland. I fly there, and as I'm coming back to BWI, going through the X-ray machine, I didn't feel quite right, and my right side, my leg, I couldn't walk and move the way I normally did. I called my wife, and she said, "Eat something," because that may change. I got a slice of pizza, Nicole. I couldn't eat.
Mm.
And I left in an ambulance, went to the hospital. The doctor misdiagnosed me. He said it was the stomach flu. If he'd said anything about a stroke, we'd be having a different conversation. So I went back to my friend's house. I talked to my news director. It was November. November is a ratings month.
Yeah.
So he
But
said, stay as long as you can, but you could hear in his voice, hurry back, hurry back.
oh yeah, we know how that sounds. Yes.
So I get on a plane, and I have my stroke 30,000 feet up in the air. And the thing was, I didn't know what a stroke was, knew nothing. It was just, it was just awful. So when we landed, I couldn't talk. I got up, and my balance was off, and they thought I'd been drinking. I hadn't had anything to drink on the plane. But Nicole, I had a sky cat there with a wheelchair because I didn't feel that good. He wheeled me through the airport and never said a word to me, and left me curbside by myself. I was done. And so a guy comes out of baggage claim to smoke a cigarette. He's heavy, smoking a cigarette. We both know that's not good. But he looks at me and he says, do you want me to take that phone? I've been trying to get my wife. I finally got her, and I said, help me, not good. And she about lost her mind. Hang the phone that someone dialed 911. He talked to her. He dialed 911, walked back into the baggage claim. Nicole, if he walked in here right now, I wouldn't even know who he was. I
Wow.
don't know his name. Nicole, he's the reason I believe in angels, because that guy saved my life. Off I went to the hospital, a coma for 2 days, intensive care for a week, hospital for a month, rehab for a year.
At 51. That is so young, Mark. So
Right.
young. So thank God you get through all of that, but that was a journey in getting back to good health. What do you want people to know? Because you wrote the book
Mm.
after the stroke about what you went through so that they don't miss the signs, the symptoms, you know,
Well,
because early getting like 8 seconds is really, I think there's like seconds that of time that you need to be getting care immediately when you know something's not right.
Nicole, I'll say first thing is as you age, you have to make the odds work in your favor. By that, I mean, Nicole, I'm 50 pounds lighter than I used to be. And I go to Crunch, the gym. Um, I always say there's no one harder on me than me. I go uh, 3 or 4 times a week. I beat myself. I should go 5 or 6 times a week, but I'm going.
Yeah.
And but you have to put your dukes up and be prepared to fight back.
Right.
Uh, um, Nicole, life has a way of knocking you down, whether it be a stroke, heart attack, cancer, divorce, bankruptcy, losing a loved one, losing a family member. Life will knock you down. The, to me, the key is not to get back up and get back into the fray, just get back up. Because people, when they get knocked down, turn around and go home. Can't do that.
Yeah.
Can't do that. Name of the game is to be here as long as you can. So you have to be here, prepare to be here for as long as you can. Be healthy.
100%. And do you talk about that in
Yes,
your book?
yes, I do.
Absolutely. How can people get your book?
Well, I think Amazon,
Yeah.
you can go there. Uh, um, it's still there. Thing is, Nicole, I'll tell you something funny. I write a blog. I've submitted 21 of the blogs to the Orlando Sentinel. They printed 18 of them with a picture. There I am. And, but God, one of the best compliments I ever got. That book was written with a ghostwriter. I
Oh,
Cole, I was messed up. I could barely put two and two together. So he would ask me questions. I'd answer. He'd send me the transcript. He'd say, change it however you want. Okay. One of my friends was Tony Bennett. I've knew Tony forever. He got me the show on A&E live by request. I did that for 7 years. Bowie, Elton John, Tony, Earth, Wind and Fire, Vince Gill, Trisha Yearwood, all kinds of people. And so, but I said, I'm going to write the chapter on Tony and my father and Garth Brooks, another dear friend of mine, very dear. And do me a favor, don't you change a word. He kind of got a little hinky, as the saying goes, about that because um, the reason why I said that, he wrote about Tony Bennett the way People magazine would write about Tony Bennett. Tony was my friend. So you write about your friend different than you write about people from People magazine. So, but I tell you all of that to when my second book is just about done. I've written the whole thing, and the ghostwriter said to me one of the best compliments I ever got. He read a part of it and he said, "You don't need no stinking ghostwriter." I thought, thank you very
it's
much.
of course. Yeah. Good for you. That's awesome. So wow, you really have made connections with some very impressive people that we all look up to on the screen and go, wow, to have been friends with Tony Bennett. Wow. Um, this next book, Tell me about it. Can you give me a little insight since you just shared
Sure.
that little bit of information?
Monica, I went back and forth. Uh, the original book was me talking about what I've learned post stroke, one chapter, then a chapter on a celebrity or like Denzel Washington, then back to exercise and all that, then back to George H.W. Bush. And my producer, a dear friend of mine, said, you know what? I would dump all that stroke stuff, put that in another book. People love to read about celebrities. Just do celebrities.
Eh,
Monica, I'm looking at my wall. I have a chapter on Travolta, Springsteen, Colin Powell, Whoopi, um, Joni Mitchell, George Harrison, Beyonce,
Wow.
Denzel. It goes on and on. Neil Diamond, Ali, Michael Jordan.
You
I'm a
have
lot.
interviewed the elite of the elite of the elite. I
Yeah.
mean, that's unbelievable to be able to share those stories and to be able to have interviewed them. I mean, I can't even imagine. Wow.